Welcome to another edition of the PaynePoints of Interest. I'm Sarah Harbuck, and I've got Mike Payne here, and we're going to be answering a question from a Reddit user named JC Forbes. He says, why does no other industry pay flat rate like mechanics? So his question is, by far the most popular employee pay method in the automotive industry is flat rate. For the uninitiated, the system means that if the book says a doodaw on the 2013 Ford Gasmobile takes 4.5 hours to charge, then the tech is paid 4.5 hours at his hourly rate to do the job, no matter what it actually takes. Let's see here. Personally, I hate this method. It encourages those with loose morals to cut corners and do a crappy job. It also encourages techs to fight over the good jobs, and the unpopular guy always ends up shafted. Nobody will ever work as a team because if you aren't doing your job, you aren't getting paid. Other shop owners always say you have to pay a flat rate or they won't get any work done. I used to pay a normal hourly rate, but I actually ran into exactly this situation. Guys would slack off and only do the 5 hours of billable work in an entire week. And I tried putting a flat bonus on that too. Like if the entire team hits X hours, everybody gets $500 cash bonus. I've even had potential employees turn down an offer because if you don't pay a flat rate, I don't get rewarded for being efficient. Undoubtedly, part of the problem is being too soft to manage people. I've solved that by hiring a proper manager. I'm about to hire a new tech, and I'm left trying to decide how to pay. Why do nurses not get paid by the pint of blood drawn, or grocery store stickers get 10 cents per item put on the shelf? Stalkers, not stickers. Wow, that person is having some autocorrect issues. Software engineers get Bitcoin for every dollar declared, and DMV employees get an incentive for every blank-faced, hateful, yet lonely stare. My sister writes romance novels, aka housewife smut, and doesn't get paid per lonely lady boner. Why is my industry the only one that pays a flat rate? That's quite comical, actually. Mike, what are your thoughts on that?
But first, I'm glad that that the user recognizes that part of the problem is being too soft on managing people. Flat rate is kind of a holdover, and I agree with the synopsis that it encourages people with loose morals to cut corners. The thing about the automotive industry is that it's mature. That's kind of what I'll say. The automotive industry is pretty mature. Their manufacturing process documents those books that say it takes 4.5 hours to do this, and yet still they're not always correct, because you'll find situations where the book says it takes this long to do it, but the book is about
Average.
that engine, right?
Yeah.
In a different vehicle that is
Yeah.
copied and pasted, right?
Well, it's a series of averages, isn't it? Like, well, averaged out, it normally takes this amount of time, you know?
Well, think about it this way, right? If you're a car manufacturer, you might use the same exact engine in 10 different vehicles over the course of a couple of years. Okay? No design changes to the engine, but the shape and design of the vehicle changes. And so you end up with, the same documentation on how to repair this particular part in the engine, but it doesn't take into account the fact that in that vehicle, in that particular model of vehicle, there's a bar that has to be removed where the bolts always get rusted shut. Okay? So that adds additional time that sometimes isn't accounted for in this documentation. So even as a very mature business that's been around since the early 20th century, since Ford invented the assembly line, which he didn't do, but he gets credit for it. It's a situation where even in that kind of industry, they still don't get things right, and somebody gets the shaft, as he puts it, in some way, shape, or form. Uh,
I
it,
think it's,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
So my take on it is, he says, why don't stockers get 10 items per item put on the shelf? Do I really, as a business owner, want to go through the process of trying to find a way to track exactly how many items get put onto a shelf by an individual person? If I'm a grocery stocker, I'm going to need some mechanism by which I can go, I took this item out of a box and I put it on the shelf. I took this item out of the box and I put it on the shelf. That needs to be tracked in order to have the data to work with it. So there's a bunch of different reasons why that would and wouldn't work. And actually, in the automotive industry, you see them trying to take steps to kind of shore that process up with good data. I worked for years on a product where we would try to track additional good data on what exactly a job would take so that they could do the flat rate. And it is an extraordinarily complex set of variables that rivals inventory management, which I would argue is the second largest logistical problem next to the traveling salesman issue. So the reason why we don't pay flat rate, aside from something that's pretty easily trackable, like commissions in sales, which he mentions in one of his edits, is because it's just really hard to do it well. That's why.
And is there some sort of formula that I mean, it seems like there are some businesses that operate on this flat rate system, and then others are, you get paid the hourly rate, or you get paid a salary or a commission. What's the rhyme or reason to that? Because it sometimes doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. I mean, you think about hairdressers, they charge a flat rate, but for some people, a haircut may take longer on somebody than on somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
And so is it service-based industries that are more flat rate favorable?
Yes.
Like what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, flat rate is going to be predominant in service-based industries, and service-based jobs. That's why commission is popular and commission is a form of flat rate. When you get paid on strict commission, and then you have variations of it, like base salary plus a smaller commission. There is those kinds of industries are is where you really see it. The hairdresser is an interesting point. I've actually thought about doing flat rate in computer repair, and here's the reason why. From a business owner's perspective, flat rate for computer repair is quite possibly the most profit-generating way you can do it. A single technician could be working on only one car at a time, and sometimes you need two technicians on a car at one time. Okay, but in computers, as long as you have the skill set to work on that particular job, you could be working on 4 or 5 different computers at the same time, and every single one of those is getting billable hours. So if you have 5 computers that have a problem, and each one is going to take 2 hours, right? You can do that 2-hour job on 5 computers at the same time, and you just made 10 hours of billable time. Okay?
Yeah.
If I'm paying you flat rate, I just paid you 10 hours of your rate. But if I pay you hourly, right, which is what most people want to accept because they don't want to think about the details of flat rate, then I paid you 2 hours and billed 10. So another reason is business greed to an extent. So businesses can make more money by billing at flat rate, but paying on hourly. So why would they give away more of their potential profit to their employees? I'm not saying it's a moral decision, but it's a business decision.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely, you'd have to look at what your business structure is and see if that would even fit with what's going to work for you. So definitely. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting topic. I've never really thought about flat rate before. So hopefully it sparks some ideas in those of who are listening today. If you guys have any comments or questions or want to add to the thoughts we've had today, you can find us on our social media. You can find us on our website at PaynePoints.com, on Facebook and LinkedIn at PaynePoints, on Instagram at Payne.points and on Twitter at PointsPayne. So tune in tomorrow and we'll talk about a whole other business topic.